TW Wrestling Talk here, uh, coming off a pretty bland edition of Monday Night Raw, but one heck of an edition of TLC, of the TLC pay-per-view, um, which is what I'm going to start off kind of overviewing today with this edition of TW Wrestling Talk. Um, and this edition will actually span a couple days here as far as recording and uploading goes. But anyhow, this TLC I think may have perhaps been the best pay-per-view of the year. Um, for for the talent level that was even missing, this was one heck of a pay-per-view. Top to bottom overall. It began with some more undercard matches. Um, the both mid card titles, as I call them, the United States Championship and the Intercontinental Championship. They weren't great matches by any stretch of the imagination. Cesaro, coming in the match, has continued to look superior to R-Truth, and the rematch. What did you expect? Um, Obviously, I think Cesaro is going to continue to have a decent reign here, um, and it's the same with the Intercontinental Championship along the same lines. Um, on this hand, Wade Barrett should not be in their fate, let alone losing to Kofi Kingston. But as I've been on record saying, he should not be kind of degraded to that level or relegated to, the mid card. Because as long as there's still two world heavyweight championships out there, the Intercontinental Championship is still seen as a mid card title these days, and especially without really a true brand extension as there used to be, brand separation. This match was doomed to be a disappointment from the get go, simply because Wade Barrett should be in bigger feuds than this. Um, you know, I think he should have revived. They should have revived a feud between him and Orton, but they're just not. They're not doing that at the moment, and they're since Wade Barrett returned a few months ago, they've really been. It's been as if he debuted in September. Whenever he came back, which clearly he hasn't. He's been around. He came back from injury, and it's like they're starting him all over, as if he was never in the Nexus or on Raw back in those days. Um, so mediocre matches there, pretty much. The Divas Championship, that was kind of thrown together. Um, yeah, I won't talk about that because we know the Divas division is a failure right now. Um, on the other hand, Cody Rhodes, and Damian Sandow, they had a decent match, um, although with a predictable outcome against Sin Cara and Rey Mysterio. Um, it went, the way I figured it, that we would see a victory there from Cody Rhodes and Damian Sandow. The guys who are on TV perhaps three times as much, again, on the compared to Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara. Who do you think was going to win that? Um, could then Cody Rhodes kind of shoving Sin Cara off the apron and threw the tables down below. That was a good oh my god moment.
Moron, good for Happy Gilmore. Oh my god!
So we had a lot of oh my god moments from this pay-per-view. Um, so anyways, um, in about the midpoint of the pay-per-view, there was a setup match that there was I guess an indefinite, kind of a strange heel turn um, by Alberto Del Rio. I didn't totally know what to think of that segment, as the three-man band were, attacking, um, you know, Ricardo Rodriguez and Spanish announcers. So I mean, it was a strange scene there, but ultimately, given that Del Rio was aligned with the Miz then, um, and then the Brooklyn Brawler, and I mean, it was just it was odd, and I think the crowd doesn't know how to react to Del Rio at the moment, just because his heel turn is strange. Boy, this phone is acting up in the background. Pardon that. Anyways, so they had a match and are having a feud that's not anything special. Again, this clearly they didn't know what to do with the Miz at this pay-per-view. They've been having him do a bundle of Miz TV segments. So you know, the, unfortunately they haven't really had a definite place for the Miz as far as a feud goes. So they should get their heads together a little more with the Miz there, and have him do something more relevant than just being like a talk show host every week on SmackDown and Raw. So that's what they should do, but unfortunately, there's a little bit of a lapse right now in Miz's, as far as feuds go. Even though he's been, generally entertaining, pretty entertaining at times. So, um, moving forward from that, we had one of the greatest matches in history to me. Maybe the greatest match I've seen, in the past several years. Depending how you look at it, depending what you factor in. Um, you know, this was a match, full of the future, as I want to say. You have, WWE's current biggest rising star, Ryback, in there. Daniel Bryan, he hasn't been around very long, but he's overwhelmed the crowd. Kane, seasoned veteran, seemingly ageless. In there in this kind of brutal match, and then the Shield in their WWE debut, um, who are who I is getting over rather well with me, and this match showed that they were here to stay. Um, it was a finish that I said could have gone one way or the other, um, and it kind of ended in a way that I figured it would. Um, but throughout this match was, it could have easily been the main event. I mean, I think that the World Heavyweight Championship, they should have made that the main event. Um, Given that it was a chance to finally make that title, in the main event match, but they went and made Cena's, and Ziggler's Money in the Bank match, um, the main event. But this match here with, you know, this six-man tag match was by far the best match of the pay-per-view. Um, it could have easily been the main event, even though, again, it was more of a, just a brawl. you know, guys that, you know, a squad of three that wanted to beat up the other squad of three and vice versa. And that is what they did. I mean, countless oh my god moments um, were present in this match. Um, Such as, the spear on Kane through the barricade.
Oh, moron. Good for Happy Gilmore. Oh, my God.
Uh, Shooter McGavin there. We had Kane choke slam a guy through a steel chair and break it. Not just, he broke the chair. Um, they use ladders against each other countless times in different ways. You know, Ryback was put through the announce table. Um, I mean, this was insane. There's so much going on um, throughout this, epic of a match. I was from start to finish. I was hooked, and these guys did such a hell of a job um, telling a great story and just taking punishment. I mean, I'm amazed that the next night on Raw, all six of these guys were going at it again. Um, not not injured or banged up. Um, I mean, of course, then it went up to the stage with Ryback and there was that whole scene where we saw what was one heck of a throwdown by Ryback, getting up off that table, and just throwing, the member of the Shield, uh, through this foursome of tables, um, with his head he mainly went through the one stack of tables with his head kind of rattling off uh, the other stack of tables. Of course, this took place on the stage, um, you know, and then at this point, Kane was buried under rubble of after being speared, and I mean, from there, it was uh, it was the Shield power bombing Daniel Bryan through the from the top rope through the announce table and
Gilmore, oh, my
picking up the
God.
win. Another, and yet again, another oh my god moment. It does countless oh my god moments in this match. Um, I I will when this pay per view comes out on DVD, I'll buy it just for that match. Um, if that was the only match the whole night, I would have been fine with that. I mean, I don't buy the pay per views. I go out and see them, virtually for free. But you know, I'll gladly buy the DVD because of that match. They did one heck of a job. I mean, I was thinking, in the calendar year of 2012, maybe Kane and Undertaker was the match of the year, as Raw's Slammy Award suggested. But after seeing that match last night, I'm thinking, no, this was the match of the year. Um, I was start to finish, I was hooked on this. I couldn't keep my eyes off. Um, a lot of great moments. One heck of a match. Something we don't get to see too often nowadays here in WWE either. The Shield and this match remind me of like an Attitude Era, kind of scenario, and that was great. I can't say enough good about this match. Um, and I'll always be remembering this match. Um, and from there, I mean, it was kind of hard to top that, but nevertheless, they had a decent match with Big Show and Sheamus. Um, a couple interesting moments there. Um, Sheamus doing the Celtic cross through the, two chairs kind of sitting across from each other. And, I mean, Big Show pulled out that big steel chair from under the ring, um, and nailed Sheamus with it and picked up the win. It was interesting. I guess it was, even though it had the chairs involved. I think their first encounter may have still been the best one. Um, Although this one might have been a little better than their one at Survivor Series. So, and it appears that that they're going to continue this feud, perhaps. So, um, yeah, they do a decent job having a feud. I'll give them that. And this wasn't a bad match. It was decent. Um, and considering it was the World Heavyweight Championship, it could, I think this should have been the main event, despite it not being the best. Despite it not topping, even though it wouldn't top, um, what we were to see in, the Ryback Team Hell No and Shield match. Still, they should have used this as the main event. I think. Um, Over what was then, another decent uh, ladder match between Dolph Ziggler and John Cena. Um, now we give a little credit here to John Cena. He pulled out a Hurricanrana. That was something you didn't expect. He had that interesting, moment when he kind of picked up Dolph Ziggler for that AA while he was on the ladder. That was interesting. But you know, by no means does this do anything major to what we're used to seeing from John Cena, which is, five moves of doom typically and not much more else. Um, you know, which we ended up kind of seeing later on as usual, which is silly, but, kind of cancels out some of the moves he pulls out every now and then, such as that Hurricanrana. But I knew, and they did the right thing. They had Dolph Ziggler win, well, retain his Money in the Bank, win, whatever you want to call, with an interesting moment from AJ, dumping John Cena off the ladder when he seemingly was gonna climb right up and win it, and pull it down, and then Ziggler nails a super kick, Shawn Michaels esque, like he kind of nailed at Survivor Series. It's kind of like, another finisher of his now, and he retained his Money in the Bank briefcase successfully. So that was fortunate, to see, and it kind of brought back the AJ I liked before she became GM. I knew once that happened, AJ was gonna have a bit more of a brighter future. The AJ who had more of an impact on things, um, who could easily send your hopes of you know winning or whatever down the drain. Like when she pushed or CM Punk off a table through, that she's better for things like that, not that whole drama thing that they had going with, Cena. That, you know I like the direction that they're pursuing. I think WWE's realizing that was the better version of AJ. So yeah, we that was good. I mean, again, it's not a total clean win by Dolph Ziggler. AJ kind of helped him out. It appears they might have another match down the road at Royal Rumble. I've been on record saying I wish they'd, give Cena a little bit more time off and save a rematch for them at WrestleMania. But it doesn't appear that they're going to do that. It doesn't seem that Cena ever gets any kind of time off, or chooses to take any time off, unless he has a major injury. So you know I guess we'll see where things go from here. Um, I'll speak more about it later, in the future of this edition of TW Wrestling Talk. As there won't be too much else to talk about from here. Um, as as Raw this week, with the Slammies kind of being a distraction a little bit, not too much advanced out of this edition of Raw, and I'm gonna I'm gonna talk more about that in the next segment of the next segment of this edition of TW Wrestling Talk, um, 1 week before Christmas. So proceed to that video when it is available.